Hating the rich, justified or just insecurity? Let me share a story with you, one that a close friend of mine, Noah, once told me over coffee on a rainy afternoon. It wasn't the kind of story that punches you in the face with drama, but rather one of those quiet truths that lingers with you, echoing in your thoughts long after the conversation ends. Noah grew up in a tight-knit, working-class neighborhood. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was real. His family had love, humor, resilience, and not much else. He told me something that stuck. In the world I grew up in, money was always just out of reach. And so, we began to see it as something tainted. Something that belonged to them, the other side. The rich. The selfish. The out of touch. It wasn't said with bitterness, just honesty. And then he chuckled. We made fun of rich people all the time. Loud cars? They were overcompensating. Designer clothes? So shallow. We didn't even realize it, but we were building a belief system. One where having less somehow made us more righteous. Where not having meant we were more real. And that, right there, is a mindset many grow up with. When people struggle, when life feels unfair, it becomes easier, almost necessary, to paint those who have more as villains. Not because they are, but because it softens the pain of not having. It makes the gap easier to swallow. Fast forward a couple of decades. Noah had worked his way up. Started a business from scratch. Took risks. Failed. Rebuilt. Succeeded. Slowly but surely, his life began to shift. And that's when the inner conflict started. He told me that for years, he avoided buying anything too nice. He could afford it, had been able to for a while, but something always held him back. Especially with cars. There was this one car, he said. Sleek. Bold. Beautiful. I'd wanted it since I was a teenager. And now, it was within reach. I could walk into the dealership and drive it home. But every time I tried, I'd freeze. I could feel my younger self judging me. I could hear the voices of my past saying, "Oh, so now you think you're better than us?" It wasn't the car. It was what the car represented. Success. Wealth. Visibility. And with that came guilt. He ended up buying a less flashy car. Still high-end, but not something that screamed for attention. Safe. Acceptable. Not a threat to the internal narrative he hadn't realized was still running his life. But the discomfort didn't go away. I realized I was lying to myself, he admitted. I wasn't being true. I was still living by the beliefs I'd inherited, not the truth I'd earned. Eventually, Noah took a different approach. He didn't try to shame himself into buying the dream car. Instead, he worked on changing the way he thought about it. I started thinking about the people behind that car, the hands that stitched the leather, the engineers who obsessed over every detail, the families supported by the jobs the factory created. I realized, I'm not just buying a car. I'm supporting art, craft, human effort. I'm part of a larger story. That shift, subtle but powerful, helped him let go of the guilt. He saw the purchase not as indulgence, but as exchange. As participation. As gratitude. That's when it clicked for me. This wasn't about money. It was about self-worth. About giving yourself permission to receive what you've worked for. To own your success without apology. You see, Noah had to bridge the gap between two identities, the kid who didn't have much, and the adult who had earned more. That's what we call bridging thoughts, gradually moving from resistance to acceptance, from shame to pride, from limitation to alignment. Because here's the thing, this kind of resistance doesn't just show up with money. It shows up in everything. Ever try to move into a healthier relationship but feel unworthy of the love? Ever get an amazing opportunity and feel like an imposter? Ever chase a dream and then, at the last second, sabotage yourself? That's not failure. That's friction. That's your old beliefs crashing into your new reality. We all do it. We all carry inner scripts that were written for us, by our environment, our past, our culture. But at some point, we have to decide who's holding the pen now. So let me ask you this, when we hate on the rich, are we really seeing injustice, or are we looking through the lens of our own unresolved insecurity? When we resent others for having more, is it truly about them, or about the part of us that still doesn't feel safe to have more ourselves? Criticism can feel justified. But often, it's just a mirror showing us where we still feel small, unseen, unworthy. The truth? There will always be people who have more than you. And there will always be people who have less. But your peace? Your alignment? Your joy? That comes not from comparing, but from listening to yourself. To your inner guidance. To that quiet voice that says, you're allowed. You're enough. You're ready. Noah didn't just buy a car. He rewrote a belief. He healed a rift between who he was and who he was becoming. And maybe, that's the kind of wealth we should all be chasing.